Yeah, what's going on, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the political junkies back at it again. And man, we got a show for you. I was so excited for this show. So much stuff going on in the news. But first things first, let me introduce my guys: Carlito, Bendo, John, and shout outs to our people that's missing right now: Gabe, Izzy, and who else? I think that's it, right? Nobody else. Felipe. Oh, can't forget Felipe. How can I forget our guy Felipe? Yeah, much love to Felipe. So Carlito, how you doing, my man?
Yo, doing pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Got my face up. Atlanta face, won the Call of Duty League.
Okay.
Call of Duty League, got my Atlanta face.
Snakes.
Ben Cameron. He just mad because my team beat his team 3-0.
All right, Bendo, how you doing, my man? How you doing, my man?
Pretty good.
Good.
Alive
John.
Here for another show.
Nice. We're gonna have some fun today, Bendo. John, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Happy International Women's Day to all my ladies out there.
Yeah. Good. Awesome. I know that Biden is doing some big things. He just created a new commission based on gender equality. So let's get into the show. I want to show this right here. Boom. This is what we're going to be discussing. So first things first, should Cori Bush run for the Missouri Senate seat that Senator Roy Blunt is vacating in 2022? And for those who don't know, Roy Blunt just announced that he will be retiring, right? So that's awesome news. So we're going to get into that discussion. That's one mini discussion. I'm also going to be talking about the book Lucky, which is about how Biden won the election and how close he came to not winning. And then we're going to talk about standing filibuster versus the legislative filibuster. I'm curious to hear what my guys think about it. And then also, should House progressives vote for the Senate COVID relief bill? So this is going to be a little bit controversial. Like, there's so much, people are really touting all the great things that's in that bill. And the question is, should the House progressive block it and say we want $15 an hour? So we're not going to talk about it right now. We're going to go into it. And the next thing I want to show is the memes of the week. I got a couple cartoons I want to show real quick. So here's the first cartoon where you don't see color. But then when
so cute. See,
right?
So cute.
It's very cute. But when you do see color, boom.
Oh no.
Look at that. So it's basically, it says Flint water plant in the background, and then you see the water the kid is drinking that this politician, probably the governor, he should be in jail, has lead in it. So this is just a very powerful cartoon. And then guys, guess who this is? Who's this guy?
Kirsten Sinema.
Yeah, Kirsten Sinema. And then the last cartoon, it says,
emoji.
But the founding fathers didn't intend, that's the guy, that's what he's saying. And then the lady's saying, I'm going to stop you right there. The founding fathers didn't intend for black slaves to go free, nor for me to vote, nor for you to vote since you don't own any land. I'm kind of over the founding fathers' intent. What you guys think about that? Preach, right? Preach.
There's a lot of stuff the founding fathers that didn't know about, or they didn't care about, or they were just straight up horrible about. So that's why we got to do the amendments. That's why the Constitution has amendments in the first place. But every time somebody says like, no, you got to be an originalist, I just roll my eyes, man, because if it was like that, it wouldn't be. We have no progress, pretty much.
Exactly. All right, let's give the chat room some love before we go to Carlito's rundown. The first person, Robert Wilson, Holly Horn, Nancy Vancher, Alan Amberster. Yo, much love to you guys.
Good evening.
Our peoples, and I hope you have fun. And also we're gonna go through some the picture trivia. So I'm gonna give you guys some time to answer those. So right now, let's go right into Carlito's rapid fire.
I kind of almost don't want to. I'm curious of what Alan was doing with grown men testing adult diapers. That's what's up with that.
What in the world, Alan? What's going on?
He works in like a assembly diaper assembly line.
Yeah, what's going on, Alan?
He's watching CNN.
Yeah, ooh.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, first story. Kentucky bill will make it a crime to insult a police officer, by Jason Silverstein at CBS News. A bill moving through Kentucky Senate will make it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer during a riot. Supporters say the bill targets people who unlawfully cross the line, but opponents call it a blatant attempt to crush protests and a violation of First Amendment rights. John?
Yeah, leave it to Kentucky, right? Leave it to Kentucky to create some type of, racist bill. Because we know, look what he says. He says that a person's get up to 3 months in jail, and they could lose their public assistant. This could be disqualified for public assistant for up to 3 months. Like, come on, like, what, you gonna do all that because you say what you want to say? We seen the video when we. Depends on your skin color, what you say, you could get away with it. So we know what they really trying to target.
So only rich people could protest now? Is that what they're saying?
I guess,
the insurrectionists of the Capitol?
Yeah.
But there's a good number of those that had a good amount of money. It wasn't all poor white people there.
Kentucky always find a way, right, to be in the headlines.
Mm-hmm.
Not always for good reasons.
Wow.
All right, second story. U.S. Supreme Court rejects case over qualified immunity for police by Andrew Chung at Reuters. So in May 2020, a Reuters investigation revealed how the legal defense, qualified immunity under the careful stewardship of the Supreme Court has made it easier for police to kill or injure civilians with impunity by shielding them from lawsuits, even when courts determine police actually violated a person's constitutional rights. So in recent months, they have signaled that they might be softening in the approach. They had some 2 cases where they allowed inmates to sue prison guards for violating their rights. But in this most recent case, well, not the most recent case, but this particular case, they didn't want to review the case of a Cleveland man who sued after being roughed up by police while he was trying to get into his own home.
Wow, that's nuts.
Police. I mean, look what's happening now with Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, right? He had to go back to get it all off his record. If not, they could have gone back and sued him.
Oh my God!
It's like they barged in, and if it was any other person or of any other skin color, it's self-defense. But because of your skin color, it's not.
Yeah, if you haven't seen latest John Oliver, he had a piece on police raids. And, you had this white politician say, man, if cop comes to my house, I'm shooting them. I don't care. I don't know what they are. Somebody comes in wearing black in the middle of the night. I don't know who they are. Meanwhile, when it actually happens with a person of color, they get charged with attempted murder.
Yep. Like, that just reminds me of last week when we talked about the Black Panthers and Fred Hampton dying. Like, they went in his house, his apartment, guns blazing. They found 99 bullets going in and 1 bullet going out, and it was only because Mark Clark got shot in the heart and he was falling down, and it was a vertical shot. And then the first thing that they did after they beat up the survivors, some of the survivors that weren't shot. They beat them up, and then some people did get shot. And they accused them of shooting, and they charged them. They charged the people that they went in to go kill. It's just amazing to me. But go ahead, Carlito.
It's ridiculous.
I'm sorry, Carlito, real quick. Alan Ambrister, he said Cameron was the AG for Brian Taylor's case. Daniel Cameron is rumored to be named next to replace McConnell. Interesting. Go ahead, Carlito.
Yeah, so he was all that selling out. It's about to pay off now. I mean, they have a list, but everybody knows he's the front of that list.
Kentucky's gonna come through for us, and we're gonna vote in Charles Booker. We know it. This time around, we're gonna get him in.
We'll see.
All right, next story. Now, the Supreme Court won't be involved in Fairbanks Four case by Mark Thiessen of the AP. So this is another instance where the Supreme Court will not get involved, but in this time is good. So you have pretty much 4 men that were accused of murder in 1997 in the death of a Fairbanks teenager, John Harmon. They spent 18 years in prison before prosecutors agreed to vacate their convictions in 2015, following a 5-week hearing that re-examined the case in detail and included evidence that other people kill Hartman. So it wasn't the four men. Their name were George Freese, Kevin Peace, Marvin Roberts, and Eugene Vent. So basically, when they got released because they didn't do it, they had to sign an agreement saying that they would not sue the city, but a court found it that it was not legally binding because it was coerced. They basically said, sign this, promise you won't sue us, and we'll let you go. So a lower court dismissed the lawsuit. Then a federal court, appeals court, said like, nah, this lawsuit can stand. And it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, nah, we're not going to hear it. So that means the federal case stays, which the four men who were 18 years in prison get to sue the city of Fairbanks.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I'm surprised that the Supreme Court, which is super conservative right now, they could pretty much pass anything through there that is like, that's really corruption, which we know they are. I'm surprised they didn't take that on to try to reverse that. Maybe it was just way too far. Maybe. What you think, Carlito?
I think it was just probably too obvious that it was a coercion, and they're willing to go around the lines to get what they want done, but they don't want to make it too obvious. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, but that's 100%. It just looks at the system. We need to find a way to fix the system. I was thinking if there's a way to see cases, for judges to see cases without looking at the physical person. Like, it's almost as if they got to look at the case and look at client number one or person number one, and not look, because now they can't see if it's a white or a black person. I wonder if that would ever change, the process. What you think?
I mean, that might be good for a lower case, but once it gets to the Supreme Court, is even if they know the people, they know the process, they know what kind of establishment they want to protect. So it doesn't matter if it's black or white in that case.
That's true. That's a good point. Go ahead, Carlito.
Okay, this is Supreme Court all day, every day. Next story. Supreme Court to hear case about when defendant can sue police for misconduct, by John Fritz at USA Today. So the New York City police pushed their way into Larry Thompson's apartment in 2014 after receiving a 911 call alleging child abuse. When Thompson resisted their entry, he was arrested and thrown in jail for 2 days. The 911 call was made by Thompson's sister-in-law, who, according to court documents, suffered from cognitive delays. Now, under a Supreme Court case, a defendant who wants to sue for police or prosecutors must demonstrate that they are affirmatively found innocent, like the case that we mentioned before, where they found evidence that somebody else killed it. So, on a trial or a conviction being overturned. Now, because the charges were dismissed in this case, the New York-based U.S. Court of Appeals is saying that this is not an affirmative statement of innocence because the case was dismissed. He wasn't charged, went to jail, and the case overturned. So the Supreme Court now gets to decide whether this is enough grounds to sue. If you get arrested, but the case was dismissed eventually, even if you spend time in jail.
Wow.
And it just turned out to be a simple diaper rash, right? So, so yeah, we'll see what I think will be good to follow that case.
Yeah, so it's ridiculous because to me it's obvious it should be able to sue, because if for some reason this person is in jail, can't afford bail, loses their job, loses their home, and the case is dismissed, but by that time they already got nothing. They got the stigma of being arrested in front of everybody, plus losing their job, plus, who knows what else could come of it, losing their kids possibly. They must. They must. So, but before we give too much credit to the Supreme Court, the next story, the Supreme Court might kill voting rights quietly, by David H. Gans at The Atlantic. So we know the case with Holder versus I forgot it's the Holder case, but they got to the Supreme Court's the Voting Rights Act, and immediately following, a whole bunch of laws came through trying to overturn every possible way for minorities to vote, trying to take them away. Now the 2 LDR from this, because I had to read this to really understand it. It's a Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that they're trying to get rid of as well. That basically says that you can't make a law that even if you don't mean it to be racist, if the result is racist, you got to take it out. So even if you have some fake excuse about voter fraud, but you're really targeting, minority population or something, that law has to go away. Now, conservatives say that this makes it hard to pass any laws that to them they think it's neutral. But when it comes to corporate corruption, for just one example, conservatives want the government to prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt before finding a person or a corporation guilty. They want every T's and dots crossed. They let them off with, like they find any excuse to let them off. But when it comes to voter fraud, they're basically hypocrites because they want people to be guilty before proven innocent. And by the time the election is over, the result is moot. Mute or moot. Yeah, it's moot.
Yeah, mute. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So went on, I guess, on a kind of positive note in the Supreme Court. Yeah. The story by Lawrence Hurley, Yahoo News, but it's everywhere. The U.S. Supreme Court dumps the last of Trump's election appeals. So that's all there is to it. They got nothing else. Everything that went to the Supreme Court, they rejected. It's a wrap.
That's interesting. They totally dumped all of the appeals. So I guess hopefully he's gonna save some money, and maybe they're just tired of it. Maybe they knew it was a sham. Why they didn't do it while he was president. What you think?
Well, the appeals that were pending, you never know that they find some way to bring it back up later. But so right now, the ones that were pending, the last couple that were pending, they got rid of.
Interesting. All right. So I want to go to the first bit of trivia. Going to have some fun right now. Let me go bring this up. So
in the chat said,
go ahead.
John Oliver's story. I didn't watch it, but I think I will definitely watch it if you want us to talk about it next week. Definitely touch base on it. Any of you guys watched it?
Nah, I watched the one on Rage, and then I was like, you know what? I can't take no more right now.
All right, so guys, who do you think who is this person under the mask?
Is that the senator that did the thumbs down?
Yeah. Okay, so Ben Dillon got it first, but her name? Who knows her name?
Kyrsten Sinema.
I
I didn't recognize her if she wasn't holding a chocolate cake.
No, you weren't watching that camera. I was putting my thumb down.
You put the thumbs down first? Nah, I saw you, but I didn't know what to make of it. But yeah. All right, so that's the first person there. Let's go to this person. Who is this person?
Hickenlooper?
No. Okay, Nancy Vance, you got Cinema. I know there's a little delay, but Nancy, you were right. But so this person is, let me see. We'll come back to this person. Let's go to our first discussion, and then we're gonna come back. I'm gonna let the chat have a chance to let us know who that is. But the first discussion I'm going to bring up, so this is the first discussion right here. Should Cori Bush run for the Missouri Senate seat that Senator Roy Blunt is vacating? And the reason why, guys, I wanted to talk about this is, first of all, it just was announced today that Roy Blunt said that he's retiring. And then, of course, so I saw a tweet from Nomiki Kantz, and she was like, something towards like she should run for Senate or run for that seat. And I kind of tweeted in response in like, I want the same thing to happen. I said, Senator Cori Bush sounds good. That's what I tweeted, something like that. But then a couple people in the tweet said, would it be worth it to lose a House seat for her to run for the Senate, but then to lose her in the House? Because this is a red state. It's not like a Democrat can't win, because before McCaskill just lost in Missouri, right? But it's going to be it would be tough. And I'll be honest with you guys. Might be a hot take. I don't see them nominating or electing a black person anytime soon. So, but anyway, I'm giving it to the floor.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen right now. First of all, she's great, but it's too soon. She's too fresh, and this is not district wide when she was able to pound the ground and get her name out there. This is statewide, so it'll be a harder lift. And McCaskill, she won, but she was basically a dino. She was a centrist, so for her, I guess it could have been easier to win. But like I always say, you gotta do it. You gotta try, and you gotta make your case to the people. But I just don't think that Cori Bush is ready, because she's too new.
Yeah, but remember she ran in 2018 and lost, right? And then she won, so she's not new. She already lost an election, so she should have
That's a good point.
She should have some background what it takes, something. So, and it's no guarantee that she will re-win her. It still was a close call, I think, right? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I can't remember how close it was, but this was not
the Lacey Clay.
that she will re-win, that she will in 2022, that she will win her House seat. So
yeah, to me, it's easier for her to win her House seat.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, it's easier to keep the House. So this is my first question when I saw the comments in the tweet was, is there a rule? Because with what's his name, Rand Paul, when he ran, there was actually a rule in Kentucky that you can't run for president. I don't know if it's for any seat, but you can't run for two different seats, period, right? Not even that because most politicians, they run, but they also run with their current seat. And then once they're nominated, that's when they would have to vacate the seat that they have right now. But in Kentucky, he couldn't run, period, for president. He had to give up his seat, period. And matter of fact, that happened to Marco Rubio. Remember, Marco Rubio actually left the Senate for a while, right? But so if they have that rule, then yeah, I would say definitely for Cori Bush to stay in the House, stay where she is, because I'm sorry, I just don't see white black person winning the overall state for Senate. Yeah. But then somebody brought up also the nomination. So let's say she does run, right? She gets, by some miracle, she does get the Democratic nomination to go up against a Republican. That's when she would definitely have to give up her seat. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Is she going to get the support from the Democrats?
Yeah, from the Democrats, exactly. I mean, I think she would have AOC's support, even though we don't know. I don't know, because AOC didn't support her the second time she ran. So, but I would think she would get AOC support. But all right, let me ask you. There's some.
But hold up, but we have.
Yeah, I was about to go to the chat, but go ahead, Carlito.
Now we have. There's a Queen said no. Missouri is red, and Cori is black from Missouri.
Yeah,
but she also said Cori Bush is as genuine as a $3 bill. Forget it. And Holly Horn call it fraud squad. So oof.
Yeah. I saw that too. There's some other comments before that, but I can't even read it. I can't go back that far anyway. But yeah. So let's close out this conversation. Any last words on this conversation? This mini discussion?
Too soon.
She should stay in this House, continue to build her reputation, build her clout, build her experience, and I wouldn't mind seeing Cori at a high level though at some point. Yeah. So
I wouldn't mind her giving it a shot, just because there's no guarantee that she has her House seat.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the trivia.
So Golden Silence says,
yeah, go ahead.
Angus King.
Yeah. All right. He got it. He got Angus. Boom. Let me take away the mask. And that is Angus King. And the reason why.
Go ahead, Carlito. We don't know. Or they.
The reason why I brought up Angus King and the reason why I brought up Kristen Sinema is because they are part of the 8 people in the Senate, along with Joe Manchin and others, who did not vote for the passing of the continuation of the $15 an hour in the Senate COVID bill. So I wanted to.
Was he one of the ones that also tweeted about it back in the days that he
said for it? Kristen Sinema. Yeah, Kristen Sinema at least. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah. Chris Coon too. Chris Coon was one of those.
I didn't know he did too. Okay.
We talked about we were all for it, but
yeah.
Then you look at the list of their donors and how much they bought by all this corporation, and then all of a sudden they don't.
But wasn't it all of them had a tweet that related to raising wages back in the day?
It was like 4 of them.
Yeah, well, at least that's the when I saw it, I was like, I didn't see all of them, but
yeah, because I remember something on Twitter came up saying, hey, you know, the hypocrisy of people saying voting no, but yet all of them had some sort of comment to raising it up.
Yeah. Now I remember the name, but I didn't remember his name, Angus King. But I remember the mustache, and I wanted to say John Bolton, but I know he's not in the news lately, so I know it wasn't him.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to give the chat some love, especially since he's shouting me out. Say Golden Silence is saying, Case Study QB, y'all doing a fantastic job. Keep up the good work. I hope that doesn't mean you're leaving, but if you are leaving, much love to you, but we would love for you to stay around. Alan Amberster.
His actress.
He's
oof,
Alan.
Oof.
Wait,
Golden
say that again.
Silence is coming with the fire.
Oh, he's coming in with the fire. Please refer
to AOC as actress Ocasio-Cortez.
Ah, ouch, Golden Silence.
Why is she an actress?
Yeah, give us some. I know. You know what?
Golden
Let's talk about that. Today. Let's talk about that for a little bit, right? So
did she just go to Texas and just raise $5 million? That was acting.
AOC has been in the hot seat for a while, since Forced to Vote, and even before that, I know a lot of people on one side of the camp. So it's obvious that the progressive movement, the progressive activists, the progressive leaders, I like to call leaders, not pundits. These are guys. And there's two camps, right? You got the TYT, Jake Uger, you got the Sam Cedar, the Nomiki Kantz is on that side of the equation. And then on the other side of the equation, you got Jimmy Dore, you got Nico House, you got, a whole bunch of people on that side. It's divided right now. And AOC is not liked by one side, definitely. So I would love to get any feedback of why do you think AOC, what's your opinion on AOC? Why you think she's actress AOC? Why you think she's not doing well? Matter of fact, right now, let me give it to my people who's here already. Carlito, Bendon.
Golden Silence also, when we talk about Cori Bush, she always say hashtag fraud squad. So I guess
let's put
Golden Silence doesn't like Cori Bush either.
Yeah, let's put Cori in there. Let's put the squad team.
Holly said fraud squad.
Okay.
Oh, so Holly's the fraud squad. Okay. Yeah. Oh no, Golden Silence called the as genuine as a $3 bill.
Yeah. And so Alan just said Forced to Vote was a movement doomed to fail. Okay. Let me see. NLB, what does that mean? Anybody knows what that means? I don't know. But
no.
All right, so let's move on for now, but we'll come back to it if anything comes up. She's a Twitter warrior, not accessible to constituents. Interesting.
In what sense?
You know what?
I think that one, in that one, Holly, I think in that one we have to disagree.
100%, because Izzy lives in her district and she's accessible. He's seen her on the streets of the Bronx, and so she's always out there. So in that case,
listen, we call it like it is. Like we have called her out. Some of us, are fans of her. Some of us are not. But that's one thing that I could definitely, we have a lot of people in New York too, and they always see her there. That's one thing that for sure we disagree with you, Holly. Much love.
I think she fumbled with the Forced to Vote, but as far as being, out there for the constituents, you can't say that, man. You can't say that.
This is what I will say though. I'm going to say this on the opposite side, or not exactly against AOC, but I'm going to say this in general, right? You had Nancy Pelosi. There was a video that came out, which was like, I don't know if it was like 20 years ago, where she's doing a press conference and she's talking about single payer healthcare, and she's talking in favor of it very sternly. Like, I believe her in that video that she's for single payer healthcare. And then 20 years later, she's the Speaker of the House, the most powerful person in the House, and she's preventing it from being voted on the House. She's preventing it from, she's not fighting for it. And matter of fact, she's trying to squash it from even happening. I remember there was a Intercept article a couple years back where it talks about her aides were assuring the healthcare insurance industry that they do not have to worry about Medicare for all, right? So that's one person, right? Then you have Kristen Sinema, who apparently she used to be with the Green Party. She used to be a spokesperson for the Green Party, and now she's in Arizona putting thumbs down with the little curtsy, down to $15 an hour minimum wage. So basically you have system creep. System creep is a real thing where you go in with the best of intentions, and then over time you just slowly become corrupted, slowly until you got Nancy Pelosi where she's at right now. What you guys think about that?
That's why I don't think, it's always ideas, policies, not people. So if AOC anybody. Bernie, we called out. We love Bernie, but we call out Bernie.
Yeah,
I have to whenever we stand for progressive ideas. We don't always agree in exactly of the way to achieve those, but if somebody is obviously going against them, we're going to call them out whenever it happens. So AOC, she doesn't have A+ scorecard, but to me, she's still good. She's still doing some positive things. So I'm not ready to just throw her out. Especially when really some of the people that call her out, they kind of hypocrite themselves when some of the people that they think are perfect. And I'm gonna name what's her face?
Tulsi. I know you're gonna say Tulsi.
Yeah, Tulsi and Tulsi. Because when they say the same with Tulsi, I was with Tulsi. I like Tulsi. But she was not the perfect candidate people say she was, especially when it comes to like war. She is not a peacenik. She's fine with some wars anyway. She just doesn't like some of the interventionist war, but she's really pro-war. When it comes to really racism in India, she's horrible. She doesn't call out everything that's going on in India. So I mean, she has a lot of skeletons in her closet too. I mean, they're not even skeletons; they're all out there for everybody to see. So if you're gonna call out AOC, you gotta call out Tulsi too, man. That's what I say.
You gotta call everybody because she when she dropped out, she endorsed Biden the first night, and then when LC went and said that she was voting for Biden, she didn't even endorse him. She said she was voting for him. Yeah. That side of the crowd went crazy. Yeah. So
her no vote on impeachment. I mean, we all know all the pandering she's doing to the right to kind of stay in the center and appeal to both sides. All her transgender laws that she's trying to push against transgender people right now too. Like her last acts leaving Congress is some crap about transgenders and bathroom laws pretty much. I mean, come on, man.
Here's the only thing that I got on AOC that we know that right now, like one of the people that that side divided of the progressive movement, the left and the left, right? I seem to agree is Nina Turner, right? And I was watching, I forgot where she was. Nina Turner mentioned this. She said that she doesn't feel the squad has sold out, that the squad is still there for the people and that they're trying to work within. And they haven't been perfect, but again, I forgot where she was, but she said that they haven't sold out. So what are we going to say when someone that seemed that everybody seemed to agree, and somebody like a Nina Turner go in there, and let's say she doesn't force the vote, or let's say she doesn't do something that we don't agree with, we need to automatically just don't cancel them. Yeah, we hold them accountable, but it just looks like they don't do something, we just cancel them. You know what I mean? And
right.
And Nina is going to be someone that everybody's behind, and we know she's going to do something that she's going to try to negotiate within, and we may not agree with. So are we just going to throw her under the bus?
Exactly. By the way, real quick, I want to say this is the no cancel zone. So for all the people in the chat, I didn't say this at the beginning. I usually like to say this, but if you're watching us right now, then you are a political junkie too. You're part of us. We're one team. And one thing we don't do is cancel each other. Everyone's going to have their opinion. I'm going to try to convince you of my opinion. You're going to convince me of your side. But and you might hate my opinion of something, but we don't cancel each other here. Go ahead, Carl.
And bringing it back a little bit to last week when we talked about Fred Hampton, there's plenty of things he didn't agree with the I forgot the name of like the white group that had the Confederate flag. He's definitely not for the Confederate flag.
Oh yeah, the Young Patriots, yeah,
the Young Patriots. But when you find something you have in common, you just work on that. You disagree on something else, you work on that. You don't cancel across the board, and that's why I think we on the left have a problem with, because somebody does something that we don't like, we automatically want to get rid of them. When on the right, you see how they hated Donald Trump, but once he was in power, they got all their tax cuts passed.
Yeah.
They got everything they wanted. So we got to try to work with each other. And I mean, there are some lines that we don't want to cross. We don't want to be sellouts. But at the same time, if Tulsi was still in Congress and she came out with a great bill, hey, all for it. AOC, Bernie, whoever. I mean, even Kristen Sinema, she comes out with a great bill, then go for it.
Exactly. Yeah. So
golden silence.
Go ahead, Ben.
Coming out here. I enjoy the actress's fine performance in the CARES Act, an Oscar award of performance, if not a Gold Globe.
Yeah.
And then Tulsa is a whole lot better than all of the fraud.
Tulsi, yeah, we're gonna disagree on that one because Tulsi straight up trying to be on Fox News right now, man.
Yeah, somebody did say that in Christian Davis. He said, "Ain't she on Fox now? So is she a commentator? Like
I don't know if she is.
She might be like a special guest.
I don't watch Fox News,
but I'm saying, but everything she's been doing ever since she was running for president is geared towards some kind of centrist or right wing thing, man. With the kind of no vote on Trump when it was like obvious, like you got to impeach, to transgender laws, to her fake anti-war and the transgender thing, the racist thing, everything. I mean, it's straight up, it's almost genocide that they're trying to have in India, and she has said nothing about it. And she was one of the only people that still supported when the Prime Minister of India came over to visit. So there was a resolution condemning him for what he was doing, and she didn't vote for it.
We're missing our Tulsi supporter on the panel, who's usually Gabe. So his presence is missed right now. But I want to ask,
national treasure. I
want to go to this question that Golden Silence asked: what is the difference between Joe Manchin and Joe Crow Biden? Joe Crow Biden. So I think that's a playoff for Jim Crow. But I personally think that Joe Biden and Manchin are working in cahoots to keep the $15 an hour from going through. And I never believed him from when he was running. I don't believe him now. There's a lot of commentators saying, oh yeah, Joe Biden is going to bring up and he's going to fight for $15 an hour. His press secretary said, yeah, we're going to bring it up later on. I do not believe it. What do you guys think?
That makes sense. I think, Manchin doesn't care being the bad guy, right? They probably were like, hey, we're going to run on this. This is what we do. And then they'll get, those folks like, Arizona, they were like, okay, well, maybe in Arizona. Because see, Florida passed the $15.
Yeah.
Florida. So it's like.
Exactly. All right, so let's go on to the next topic. So discussion on what I learned from Lucky. And this, let me show the book cover real quick. Boom. Let me bring it up here. So this is the book cover by Jonathan Allen and Amie. I don't know how to pronounce that. Parnes. So
Parnes.
Yeah, so this was I actually enjoyed the book. They also wrote, and it says it at the top, a New York Times best-selling authors of Shattered. And Shattered was also a book they wrote before this one, and it was about Hillary Clinton's how she lost the race. And they said, I heard them in an interview, they said they picked the word shattered for that book because it was supposed to represent a woman winning and breaking the glass ceiling, right? But it turned out that same title was appropriate because it was the shattering of her career, of her campaign. So they just kept the same title. But I thought overall, the book was very interesting. It was very well written. But I must say that I can tell that it was they're like Hillary supporters underneath, and I could smell the bias from like the Bernie hater bias to a certain extent. But that still didn't stop me from enjoying the book. I did have heartbreak and heartburn from going through that experience again of the whole primaries and then Bernie losing, and that hurt. But I learned a lot of things behind the scenes. So let's get into some of the things that I learned. So first thing, and these are from a progressive, there's a lot of interesting things that I could have talked about, but I'm going to bring stuff up that I think progressives would care about. And the first thing is Simone Sanders was picked for diversity and a coup against Bernie. So I'm going to show a picture of Simone Sanders for those people who don't know. So this is Simone Sanders, and she was the press secretary for Bernie back in 2016. If you remember, it was after Bernie was on stage and some Black Lives Matter, I believe it was Seattle, came on stage, and it was very embarrassing. And they said, all right, we need to get some diversity. So I can't even blame Joe Biden for that because Bernie thought the same thing and brought her on board. But the thing is also not only for diversity reasons, but also as a coup against Bernie. But I think the way, and I could be wrong, but from what I understand, the way she left the Bernie campaign, she left prematurely, and I don't think it rubbed Bernie's team the right way. So I don't think they were going to try to hire her again. But it was a coup in the sense that you can say, hey, look, even Bernie's press secretary doesn't like him anymore. that she's with us. You know, you guys have anything to say about that before I move on?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think she's just more of we said it in the show before, right? We have called it out. We know that Bernie ran a terrible campaign. We know that, you know, he was big disappointment, but I think it's just she just sell herself out. I don't have to do anything with a coup or anything. And
yeah, but that's like some like art of war type thing, man. You bring in somebody from their camp to you know, go after them, man. I mean, probably learn some things about him first of all, and how he run his thing, and then also you use it against him.
And then she put him, and they put her on CNN like every other night or every night and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, so.
She had a relationship with CNN. Once she left Bernie's campaign, they hired her as a commentator. So she built up some resume, a contact book. So let me go into the chat real quick. Somebody put, I agree with the title of the book, Lucky. Yeah, totally. All right, so let me go on to the next point. So Biden told Elizabeth Warren that he would make her his VP if he would have ran in 2016. He had a meeting with Elizabeth Warren saying that, hey, if I run, I will make you my VP. And he thought Hillary should have made her his VP after she won the nomination. He thought that, and I think so. At the time, I thought so too. You know, the way I feel about Elizabeth Warren is totally different from how I felt back in 2014, 2015. But even back then, after Bernie dropped out and it was time for Hillary to pick a VP, I think if she would have picked Elizabeth Warren, who knows if that would have helped or win. What do you guys think?
If she would have picked anybody other than Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
That's my senator and stuff like that. But the reason why they picked him was because he spoke Spanish. She was like, oh, he speaks Spanish. He did something in Honduras, and he's going to attract the Latino vote and stuff like that. It was a terrible, outside of Virginia, which they already have, right? They already had it in the bank. Like, nobody knew who Tim Kaine was. So it was a terrible pick.
Exactly. Totally nothing special about him. He was a moderate just like her. So he didn't even they didn't diversify the ticket where you would have, you have a moderate on this side and then you have a progressive on the other side. But to be honest, if Bernie would have won, I would have wanted him to pick another progressive anyway. So, but I think they would have actually won the whole general. So anyway, let's move on to some other points.
You know, but Elizabeth Warren, one of those people that we have some love for, and you know, complete disappointment, and you know, we had to call her out on the way she ran her campaign and the way she basically destroyed Bernie's campaign twice. So you know, that's somebody else that we like her ideas and then see what happens, and at the same time, you know, she comes out with some decent bills. So until we get rid of her, you got to work with her.
Yo, Bendone, for a moment, can you mute your mic? Because I feel like there's a little noise. I don't know if it's coming from you. Yeah, but you might have to mute your mic when you're not talking, buddy. All right, cool. So let's move on to the next. So Biden actually played around with doing $200 limits with, and that's donation limits to his campaign. But of course, he was talked out of it because they needed to raise big bucks. But imagine if he stuck with that, he would have definitely left the race a lot sooner because they cannot raise money. It was so hard for them to raise money at certain points of their campaign that they could have possibly left the race, and who knows what would have came. Now, that brings me to something else. I wanted to ask you guys. I think if it came down to around Super Tuesday, it was pretty much, you know, Elizabeth Warren was faltering. Other people just won Iowa, but then he didn't win New Hampshire. Came close, but then he definitely didn't win Nevada. So it was pretty much clear that he wasn't going to win. So the only viable person, if Joe Biden would have dropped out when it came to Super Tuesday, let's say Bernie was ahead of the game, ahead of everybody, the only person left would have been Bloomberg. Now, we know that Bloomberg, the establishment would have gotten behind him. I'm sorry. I think Obama, I know that Felipe is not here, but I think that Obama would have definitely endorsed Bloomberg. He would have put his chips behind Bloomberg, which means
Bobby Rush did.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bobby Rush, who was a former Black Panther. So I think they might have been able to box Bernie out. What do you guys think about Bloomberg versus Trump? which is that's even worse than Joe Biden, in my opinion. So I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I think it would have been a bigger win than Biden.
Oh, really? Who though? Trump?
So.
Trump?
I think
Bloomberg would have won?
I think
really?
so. Like I didn't think so at first, but thinking about it, all the corporate people that still wanted Trump because of they just pro corporate whatever. Yeah, they would have been fine. They would have loved Bloomberg. They would have loved Bloomberg, and then Bloomberg would have used the same thing that Biden did with the whole. I'm better than Trump. He was going to use that, and then there's no way they would have tagged Bloomberg with a socialism tag.
I disagree with you, but I'm gonna go with John because John's on the opposite side. Go ahead, John.
I don't think they would have. I think they would have gone to the convention, and I think Alan just mentioned it too. They would have just probably picked Como or something. Remember that was the hype. Yeah. That was the hype of Como 2022.
Yeah. I mean, if Bloomberg was the chosen one, I think he would have won.
No, they would have. If he wouldn't have the delegates, they would have gone to the convention.
He would have paid everybody off, man.
Yeah, they would have gone to the convention. He would have gotten it. So
let's
think that, and if it was them too, I think Trump would have
listen. He would have been on the convention floor handing out checks right there.
So Trump would have won higher than he would have.
So I agree with John. I agree with John, and this is the reason why, Carlito. There's no way in hell that the progressives, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and others that we don't even have to mention is going to support Bloomberg. And the reason why Joe Biden won was because they were behind him. Like, love it or hate it, the progressives were behind him.
I mean, if some people think that they're really the fraud squad, then they would have done it, right? No.
Yeah. So, that's another argument for another day. But I don't think they would have. So, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my original thought was no way Trump carries it. But thinking just in the moment, I'm like, you know what? I think you got a chance. I mean, you can have a chance. Right, there's no way they might have used socialism. But there's no way it could stick to Bloomberg. It's impossible. They're going to stick to Bloomberg the same way it stick to Biden.
You think Georgia could have flipped? You think Bloomberg could have flipped Georgia?
I mean, people would have for Biden. People would have for Biden.
Wait, I take that back. I mean, Stacey got what, $5 million from him.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think that Bloomberg could have flipped Georgia, but Bloomberg would not have gotten Michigan. And Michigan was gotten because of Rashida Tlaib. Yeah, Rashida Tlaib. They worked their butts off for Biden, so I don't think they would have got Michigan. But anyway, let's move on. If you got any last thing, anybody has any last thing to say, go ahead, John.
Yeah, one quick thing. Yeah, Nancy, that's one thing that we do get the squad on for supporting Nancy Pelosi. So we do get them on that, but we still don't cancel them out completely.
Right.
But we don't agree with them at all, though.
I mean, as many times as John has been mad about the Mama Bear thing, listen, we don't play favorites. I mean, we got favorites, but we're not hypocrites. You know what I'm saying? We call them out when they do crappy stuff. And when it comes to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, I think somebody mentioned with getting rid of Boehner, hey. Schumer and Pelosi are number one on our hit list, on our political hit list.
Yeah, political hit list. Yes, political.
Throw up the quotations again.
Yeah.
Flip it.
So Nancy Venture said, "What's the difference between Biden and Bloomberg?" And I want to answer that question. I think Biden is miles ahead of Bloomberg, and this is the reason why. Me personally, what's worse? Okay, so all the progressives fear that if Joe Biden doesn't do a great job of changing the lives of normal people, material people, so for example, $15 an hour, which he's not doing, but at least he's going to get people checks. But we need him to continue going down that path. So if he doesn't do a good job,
less than Trump. Remember that though, he's giving people less money than Trump.
He's giving them, exactly. So John is correct. But so hopefully he has time to continue to try to do some good things, right? But all the progressives are afraid in 2024, if he doesn't do a good job, then what's going to come? A smarter, worse Trump, right? People are afraid of a smart Trump coming down the pike, like a Tucker Carlson or a Josh Hawley.
Or Trump himself.
Trump himself.
But let's put Trump aside for a second, right? Let's put Trump aside. What's worse than a smart Trump? A Democratic smart Trump. Because now you're going to have half the Democratic Party is going to be for the king or, you know, whoever it is, regardless. And then you're going to have a few of the squad members. And then the other Democrats are going to try to beat the squad members to just go along, to get along. So I believe that Bloomberg is a smart, and now he's a Democrat pretty much right now. He's a smart Trump who's a Democrat. He's a smart billionaire, an oligarch. And I don't even think if he was to do a corona relief bill, you know, is 1.9 billion right now. If he was to do it, I think it would be a lot less. It would be a lot less. Personally, I think. What you guys think?
1.9 trillion.
Listen, there's only one thing that I think that Biden has that Bloomberg doesn't for an advantage, and that's Obama. That's it. That's it. That's like the Trump card right there. You know. But
also, go ahead, Carlito. Yeah.
Nah, because, you know, when it comes to, you know, I told a lot of, you know, like older African Americans, and the Obama mystique, man, is strong on them. It's strong in them, and that by itself is a trump card against Bloomberg. If they were like going head to head, Bloomberg against Biden. You know, somebody mentioned like Bloomberg, like they would have Trump would have hit Bloomberg with the sexual assault case. They try to get Biden with sexual assault charges too, but the media would have buried whatever Bloomberg had the same way they buried Biden's. So you know, it's a non-issue.
Wait, are you surprised that Trump never hit Joe Biden with that during the general?
I mean, he probably wouldn't want to talk about his own.
He had his own. He had
a lot of cases pending still.
That's true. All right, let's get back to the book. I'm gonna try to do a rundown because hopefully we could do these other discussions before the time runs out. So Obama, it basically endorsed, and I'm gonna come up with a new term. I don't know if it's a new term or not, but it's called shadow endorsement. Obama basically shadow endorsed Elizabeth Warren. I was surprised when I read this or I listened to the audiobook when I heard this, that he had a meeting of a lot of black rich people basically. And he said, hey, she's going to raise your taxes, but I want all of you to be behind Elizabeth Warren. And then he said, I'm not endorsing her. And everybody laughed because they know basically he's not officially endorsing, like quote unquote, wink, wink. But he was basically telling everybody to get behind Elizabeth Warren. And I remember an article, I believe it's in Politico, when it came out that like 100 former Obama aides comes out in support of Elizabeth Warren. I remember specifically when that happened. And I thought it was funny that happened that way. And now it makes sense that Obama endorsed Elizabeth Warren. What you got? You guys have any opinion on that?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that or something, because Obama was running everything behind the show, and when they pulled that Super Tuesday move, he was the one that called the shots.
Remember how they said that Obama didn't want Biden to even run.
Exactly. So this is before Elizabeth Warren. This is when you still had all the candidates. You didn't know that it was going to come down to Bernie and Biden. So this is. And apparently over time, like as Elizabeth Warren made gaffes and, you know, went down, he started thinking about other people. But I still thought it was interesting that meeting went down. And I think he probably was the first person, or Elizabeth Warren was probably the first person on his radar. But anyway, okay, let's keep going. Pete Buttigieg, remember in Iowa how it was a total mess? And I remember Bernie, it came out that Bernie had his own app that was giving out the statistics, that they were able to find out things ahead of time, find out which precincts were growing where ahead of time. Apparently, according to the book, that app did not work well. And matter of fact, not only did that app not work well, Pete Buttigieg, his team had their own app and it worked well, and they were able to get statistics a lot quicker. Now, if you remember, Pete, or I don't know if you guys remember, but it was reported afterwards that Pete Buttigieg, like he had some connection to the Shadow company. Shadow was the company that created the app, the official Iowa app that totally bombed. It totally did not work either. So how in the world did the Shadow app not work, but Pete Buttigieg and his team had an app that worked? Like this, it's a very fishy stuff going on over there.
Total coincidence. Total coincidence.
Yeah. Anyway, that's something that hopefully we'll find out more information about that later on. All right. Bernie recognized.
Listen, I'm giving this to myself because you didn't catch my sarcasm.
I missed that. Yeah.
It's not a coincidence at all, man.
There we go. Bernie recognized after Iowa and New Hampshire that some of his votes from 2016 were anti-Clinton votes, and then went on to make speeches against the establishment. So I think that was a fault that Bernie did. I think he should have changed his strategy. I think Kyle Kulinski said it afterwards. After he lost Super Tuesday, we were thinking about what he could have did differently. And I think he was really targeting his message just to progressives. So we now are thinking about it now, and when the next person runs in 2024, we have to find a way. We have to give them leeway to speak to progressives, but also speak to the normies, what you would call quote unquote normies, people who just watch CNN and only watch MSNBC. And we have to allow them to give them room to try to bring more people into the tent. You guys agree?
You just got to go in there, and you can't be like, Joe is my friend. Joe will be Joe Biden. Joe will be Trump. And Joe is a decent guy. And then meanwhile, you just taking punches left and right. And you got to bring in people that actually know. Like your top aides that you wanted to go after Biden, you're telling them no. And the guy that you have running your campaign is like, we didn't do X, Y, and Z. It was terrible. It was a terrible campaign. Like we always said this. Like Bernie ran, even before Super Tuesday, we were like, this guy just keep running a terrible campaign. When it's politics, you gotta go. You can't constantly just keep taking punches. And all he was doing was just taking punches. And they will call him a socialist. Biden will be like, "Oh, I'm not friend with a socialist," and Bernie's response will be like, "Joe is my friend."
Yeah, you had Zephyr Teachout come out with a whole article calling Joe Biden corrupt, and he came out and denounced his own. Like that, she was on his team, and he had denounced that. So, all right, this is the last thing, and then we're going to move on. So, Biden seemed to have the opposite effect of Hillary Clinton, where Hillary Clinton had the perfect storm to lose the general election. She lost those 3 states, the Beltway, that usually Democrats win. And Biden had the opposite. So some of the things was the confusion around Iowa. Remember how it was just a hot mess? They couldn't tell us who won. That hid the fact that Biden came in such a low place. So the whole time Biden was ahead of the polls. He was the number one person that everybody was talking about. And then once the contest started, he came so low, but because of the confusion, that kind of gave him a pass, right? Then you had the coronavirus, where you had Joe in the basement, the whole time during the general election, and that helped him because, the more people saw of Joe, the more gaffes he can have, et cetera, et cetera. And then he was close to dropping out before South Carolina because of lack of funds. He was actually having a conversation with his team about mortgaging his house. So he came very close to dropping out before South Carolina because of financial reasons. So that's the last thing about the stuff that I learned from Lucky, that book. And any last things you want to say, anybody, before we move on? All right. All right. Let's move on.
I still don't get why so much money gets invested in elections that could be used for better things.
I hear you.
Because the media, man, the media. Yes,
Twitter, Twitch, YouTube is free.
Listen, the media, all these channels, they probably make like a quarter of their whole yearly budget just in elections, man.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and that's why they would hate my idea. Remember, I came out with candidates.gov.
Clubhouse is invite only right now, but hey, Twitter's making their own version of it. It's free.
That doesn't work for the. How many people under? I don't know, they say over 35 know about Clubhouse.
Yeah, not a lot of people.
Okay, Boomer.
I just found out about it.
I'm telling you.
I just found out about it myself. I'm not even gonna lie. I just found out about it like maybe 2 months ago or something, 2-3 months ago.
I know about it, but I still gotta be explained. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So, guys, it's 9:00. Do you guys want to do PJ overtime for 10 minutes? You guys got time? Everybody's good?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, 10 more minutes. Much love.
Time, man.
This is for our people in the chat. This is how much we love you guys. All right. So next person, name this attorney general under the mask. Who's this?
Letitia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Letitia James.
James.
And the reason, and then it's going to be easy to bring this person up. I might as well. You guys know who this is.
The chat.
Yeah. All right. So the reason why I brought her up was because there's a let me zoom out. Let me bring back this other view so you guys can see. Here we go. Boom. Andrew Cuomo is living to regret the deal he pushed on Letitia James. So this article talks about how, first of all, Letitia James, the way she came up in New York, she was super progressive. And this can also go back to the conversation we had before, right, with AOC. The Working Families Party is a progressive organization, even though they didn't endorse Bernie, but okay, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, they're considered I would say they're an establishment progressive organization. But anyway, they helped Letitia James. She was the first person on the Council of New York, the New York Council, to be elected with the majority of Working Families Party votes. So she was with them basically, and then she went on to run for public advocate of New York, and with the help of the Working Family Party again. And then she wanted to run for the attorneys general, but the thing is, when you run for attorneys general, you need money. Right? So Andrew Cuomo made a deal. She made a deal with the devil, and the reason Andrew Cuomo made this deal was because he was mad at the Working Families Party. They had just endorsed Cynthia Nixon against him for governorship. So he said, Letitia James, I'm going to get all my money people behind you to run for attorneys general, but you got to publicly not accept the nomination for the Working Families Party, right? So just a quick explanation. In New York, they have fusion voting. What that means is your name could be on several ballots. So her name was on the Democratic, or could have been on the Democratic Party on that ballot, and on the Working Families Party on that ballot. But Andrew Cuomo said she had to not get that endorsement, and she did. So she went along with that. But this article talks about how Andrew Cuomo is living to regret that, because as we all know, recently, the first hit that I knew something was going on was when she was the Attorney General's office did the investigation into the deaths of the nursing, the people in the nursing homes, right? And then more recently, you got all the women coming out and things of that nature. So it's interesting that now her progressivism is coming out. And I think she's going to run for governor. So what you guys think about that?
I mean, do you really think that at the end of the day, she's going to, if that's the case, I mean, you're going to go against your sugar daddy?
Apparently she is. She's going against them right now.
I mean, yeah, but I didn't know this deal that you were talking about. So before I was like, oh yeah, get him. Now I'm like, oh, what kind of sweetheart deal is she going to offer him at the end when it comes down to it? So now I'm not so sure anymore.
And
what you think, John?
When was she run for governor? Isn't like the New York race have like 8 candidates right now?
No, that's mayor. That's mayor.
Mayor. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think he's up in 2 years.
Overtime got me thinking something else.
You ready for rest? You ready to sleep? All right. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. And oh yeah, this last person, I'm never gonna forget to bring up this last person. Hopefully you guys write his
my Oregon guy.
Yeah, you gotta write his name down. And for my chat, all the people in the chat, remember this guy's name, and he is Kurt Schreider, and he's
Ricky
the guy.
Schroeder.
A Schroeder? Is it Schroeder? Oh, no, Kurt Schreider, and he's the guy that voted against the $2,000 stimulus checks when President Trump was still president, and he was trying to pass another round of checks. He was the one that voted against it. And then he also he was one of 2 Democrats that voted against the stimulus relief bill when it came up in the House. So he's definitely an enemy of the progressives. So I want everyone to remember this guy's name.
We need to add another, like, all those 8 boxes of all 8 Democrats that voted against the minimum wage, and every week we'll bring them up too.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that because we're going to be bringing these people up next week. So if anybody want a cheat sheet for next week show, when I have people's faces, get those names ready. All right, so we got 5 minutes left. I'm going to bring up this the topic. I'm just going to talk about it real quick, and then we're going to go to this last topic because I really want to spend time on that one. But basically, there's the standing filibuster versus the legislative filibuster. The standing filibuster is the traditional, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, that movie where you have to be a senator and you would stand up and you have to talk and talk and talk until you can't talk anymore. And the only way to stop that person from talking would be to vote. 60 senators would have to vote to have that person stop talking. And that was your filibuster. And that's a hard thing to do. You can't just, it's very hard. I think the record is maybe, I forgot what the record is, 24 hours or 10 hours. It's a long amount of hours, but you have to pee in a bottle and all sorts of stuff, right? Versus.
Yeah, that was that, I think it was maybe South Carolina racist senator.
Yeah, exactly. That had to do that.
Thurman.
But at some point, and I'm curious what the history is behind that, but at some point, it became a legislative filibuster, which means that all you have to do is send an email and say, hey, I'm going to filibuster, and then that was it. Like, there's no standing. Go ahead, Carlito.
Yeah, you forgot about our show when we talked about it. The history is, as most things, is racism, pretty much. The filibuster was not a thing until they wanted to block everything that had to do with civil rights for Black people.
No, but Carlito, what I meant by it, so let me correct myself, not the filibuster period. I'm talking about the legislative filibuster. I think it happened like in the 90s where all you had to do was like just say the threat of filibuster and then that was it. You know what I'm saying? I understand filibuster just standing up there. Yeah, we did that history, but I'm wondering how that came about. But so the talk of the town right now is that what's his name? Joe Manchin might be for getting rid of the legislative filibuster and keep the standing filibuster. And I don't believe him. I don't believe other people. If he's for it, I would be totally for it. I don't believe Joe Biden. I don't know if Joe Biden would be for it. What you guys think?
I don't believe anything Biden says. So.
I don't think they're gonna be. I don't think Manchin or Biden want any change to the filibuster.
To the filibuster. You know what? I'm gonna be on the opposite side of this, and we might revisit this in the future. But I hear it. I was very surprised to hear the mainstream media talk about it, and then it's been popping up so often that I believe even certain parts of the donors, who the Congress people only care about their donors. And the fact that it keeps popping up, I think donors even care about passing some sort of filibuster or making some kind of reform to the filibuster because I think they really want this John Lewis voters' rights bill to pass. And we know that Republicans are not. They're not going to get 10 votes from Republicans for anything else, pretty much. They're also talking about bringing back the pork. What do you call those things? Pork that you could just put anything into a bill for certain people. I'm trying to think of the official name. Pork. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Earmarks. Earmarks. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, they're thinking about bringing that back for the Senate. So that might be another way of bribing, Republicans to vote for a bill to say, hey, we'll give you some money to build a bridge to nowhere if you vote for this bill or whatever. So anyway, let's move on from this.
Let me tell you one thing.
Go ahead, Carl.
Let me tell you one thing. The only reason this is compromised, it's even being brought up, is because people like us are saying, get rid of it altogether. And that's the benefit of not negotiating from the middle. If it would have started with getting rid of the standing filibuster or getting rid of the silent filibuster, this would have happened. So you got to start out with what you really want, and then maybe you can compromise. So right now, I'm going to say get rid of the filibuster altogether.
100%. That's why I'm not for. Well, actually, if I was in the Congress, I would vote for Medicare for all, but I've changed my stance on healthcare. I'm for VA for all, or TRICARE for all, which is straight up national health system. Like, that's straight up socialized medicine. That's going to be my stance moving forward, because then they could compromise with Medicare for all. All right, let's go on to the last topic. And before we end this, it's 9:10, but we're going to talk about this real quick. Should House progressives vote for the Senate COVID relief bill, right? So everyone's touting the COVID relief bill in the media, saying that, it's going to cut childhood poverty by a third, and it's going to do all this great and awesome good. People are going to get $1,400 checks. There's a $3,000 child tax credit in there. But there are people on the internet, progressives on the internet, on Twitter, who wants the squad, the House progressives, to come up. All you need is 6 progressives to say no. And my Congresswoman, Bonnie Watson Coleman, she actually said, she sent out a tweet that it was shameful that $15 an hour wasn't in there. And she was thinking about saying, I don't even know if I could vote for this bill, which had a lot of people, with those big googly emoji eyes like, whoa, this might happen. So should the squad veto or say that they're not going to go for this bill so that they can go back to the negotiation table? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. They should not vote for it. They should use their power. And hey, Joe Manchin is one guy and he's controlling the whole Senate. So why is it that the progressive are always the one that have to lay low and lay to all the Nancy and wow, at this point, what do we have to lose, right? So if they know, if they could hold off and then at least get something out of it, at least put up a fight. Just don't go in and say yes. So that's my thing.
What you think, Caldito?
And I agree with John, but we know what they're going to say. The problem is that Joe Manchin has no problem letting everybody suffer by not having any bill at all. Yeah. The people that are on our side, we got soft hearts. Now we're going to be like, damn, at least let's give the people something, so, and that's what's going to get them.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right.
But what I was thinking, recently I was, talking to my wife about this, regarding the next election, the next presidential election, is that, at some point, the Democrats know they need us to win. They know they need us to vote for them to win. But at some point, we got to show them that without us, they're going to lose. And we're going to have to let them lose in order to flex our muscle a little bit. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to have to happen at some point, because they're going to keep using the same tactics. It's going to be like, well, at least it's not Trump, or at least you're not going to let people suffer. You got to give them something. And I feel horrible for the people that, have no jobs, that they will really benefit for this. But at some point, we're going to have to tell them, listen, you got to give us something. We got to give us what we want. We can't just be your stepping mats all the time, man.
Well, first of all, this is a must-pass bill, but go ahead, John.
But here's my thing. Republicans don't ever, they don't care about any of the competition. They continue to get reelected. These people continue, we know that the people that will benefit more about this, and when we looked about it, we looked some of the data stuff, that they highly Republicans. They're the one that, and Republicans don't give a crap about them. And these people continue to elect them. So like you said, at one point, we get it. We have a soft spot. But at one point, we got to fight. We got to at least put up a show. Even if it's Biden promised them $1,400, $2,000 on day one. It's March 8th or 9th, and they still haven't gotten it. So at this point, you already wait all this long. So if you go in and fight, at least pretend to fight for 2 days, even if you're going to cave at the end, at least you're putting up a fight. But we have to, when enough is enough, because we know that.
But you can't do that. You can't just do the pretend. You're gonna have to be able. You're gonna have to be able to because it's gonna be. What's gonna happen when Republicans say, you have every single Republican saying no. The media is not saying, man, 50 Republicans hate America. You don't see this in the media. But if there's 4 progressives that vote against this, every single talk show is going to talk about how these people are standing in the way of this bill. Meanwhile, they don't talk about the 100 and not representatives, the 50 senators that would not vote for it no matter what. Because, it's a double standard, unfortunately. So the people that are going to vote no, they're going to have to be ready to take those lumps in the media, because it's going to be hard.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to do this. I'm going to say this last point, and we're going to end the show. Bendone, it looked like you was trying to touch the mic. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say, it's not 100 days yet, right?
No, it's not 100 days. I don't think so.
We good then.
Okay. All right. So
your mind on mute.
The point I want to make, I was watching Bad Faith, and they have it was like a 3-hour episode with Dave Sirota, and they made a lot of great points. I'm actually thinking put some clips on CaseStudyQB's Twitter account. But one of the things Dave Sirota said that I agree with is the squad and the progressives in the House should block the bill. Right now it's going back to the House. They could basically, it could be on the president's desk, right, in a couple of days, and he could sign it. But the progressives could block the bill. What does that do? Now you have the progressives and you have Joe Manchin. They're both on one side. Joe Biden puts them together and say, okay, what can we do to come up with the bill? And I think they should at least ask for $13 an hour. Joe Manchin has already said that he's for $11 an hour. So I don't see why he couldn't compromise. What you guys think?
$13 in 10 years.
Again, I don't understand why.
But it's better than nothing. It's $7.25 for the past since 2007. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, but I don't understand why Joe Manchin get to use his power and the progressive don't. So it's not he shouldn't have that much power. They should do the exact same thing that he does, and then put up the pressure, and then go back in and tell the West Virginians, your senators is the reason why you're not getting what you're getting, because we know there's a lot of people in West Virginia need that.
Yeah. So Alan Ambrister is saying progressives shouldn't hold up this money for America. So see, that's the kind of thing that they're going to face. They know people need it, and they don't care. Like the media doesn't care that the Republicans, like every single Republican is voting against it, but they will just harp on the few progressives that will, block the bill.
Exactly. All right, let's give the chat some love, and then we're going to end the show. Much love to Queen, Alan Ambrister, Nancy Vancher. Who else we got? Queen, I said CJ Bendone, who's right on the, you see it right now.
Christian
Alex
Davis.
said, it's 15 in 5 years. Say it properly. The context matters. I was joking, man. I was joking that they'll give him the compromise is going to be 13 and 15.
Golden Silence. Much love to you, Robert Wilson. Yeah. So I hope Alan Horn, Christian Davis. We said
Christian Davis.
And listen, we don't have anything. We don't hate Tulsi. We just like to call out the flaws that she has. I know a lot of you guys said you love Tulsi. That's great. Definitely go for it. But we just like to call everybody out. So just don't.
Yeah, because
don't call out AOC. Let's make sure that you bring up everybody's flaws, and you like who you like, you love who you like, and like I said, when our show is all about,
That's why I said that the part that I didn't like is the hypocrisy, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. But also Tulsi is not horrible across the board. She was for a lot of good bills. She was, one of the first people that was in Bernie's back, behind Bernie at the beginning. So I got it. You give props where due, you give blame when due.
Yeah. All right. And the last thing is $25 an hour from SF Thompson. Thomas, I totally agree with that. The only thing, if we came out with that from the beginning, first of all, Fight for 15 has been around for a while. But if somebody came out with $25 an hour, you think people would have just laughed them in their face and it was too radical? What you guys think?
No, that's what you gotta do. You gotta go up. So you could have gone for 25 to settle for 15.
Exactly.
Everybody laughed at Andrew Yang when he came about UBI.
You're right, John.
Everybody started talking about it. So
Great
have to. We already know you have to go to the most craziest part thing and then hope that what you want. Like we that's a lesson that we need to learn. Like we went for 15 and people are throwing in like 10, 11 and stuff. So if you wanted 15, you should have asked for 20 and 25 or 30.
My favorite political term that I haven't said in a while, the overturn window, baby.
Yeah.
The overturn window. That's how you do it. That's how come things that are just common sense are seen as radical lefty, and then things that are like crazy right-wing conspiracy are in the news every day like it's normal.
Yeah, 100%. Much love to you guys. Thank you so much in the chat for coming to another Political Junkie show. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. So I want to say bye to Carlito, Bendone, John, and we miss our peoples Izzy, Gabe, Felipe, much love to you guys. Hopefully they're back next week. And I'm hoping to bring on my guy who we just started a new show, New Jersey Progressive Power Hour. And there's a clip out right now on New Jersey passing the marijuana. And my man, Charlie Cradaville, I'm hoping to get him on the show to try to introduce you guys to him, helping me out with that show. And much love to you all. Nancy Vancha, I see your emojis, peace. And everybody else, I'm going to show this. I didn't give out my public service announcement, so I'm going to show it at the very end. But everybody say bye. Adios.
Hey, like, subscribe, tell a friend.
Yes,
and
like,
face
subscribe.
Up, face up.
Share. All right, I'm going to show you our
Snakes.
I'll show my public service announcements. All right, everybody, have a great one.